Hi everyone, welcome to this first episode of explaining Bitcoin and crypto to a 9-year-old. We got this idea after my book came out and actually trying to explain this to kids. So today my daughter is going to join us for this first episode of explaining crypto and Bitcoin to kids. You ready?
Yeah.
I know you've had a lot of questions over the years about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. So you want to ask me those questions?
Okay. So first of all, what is tokenization?
Well, tokenization is, imagine if you take a big toy that you like, right? But that toy is just one big toy. But imagine if you divide that toy by pieces and each one of your friends can have a portion of that toy.
Yeah, but then it won't work well.
But you're right. But in the case of a toy, maybe it doesn't work very well. But imagine your school is a big school, right? You cannot own your school. But what if all the students owned a portion of that school? And then everybody cares about the school. Everybody will do better cleanup afterwards. Everybody will look better after the outdoor area and be more careful with the toys. That's what tokenization is. You take a big piece of an asset and you cut into and you have it into little pieces.
Oh, like it says in here, these two phones have a transfer of ownership.
Yeah, that's a very good example. How to transfer assets basically in an easier and more fun, in a more convenient way. What do you like about Bitcoin? What do you like about cryptocurrencies?
What I like about cryptocurrencies?
Yep.
Well, it was probably the person who invented it. I mean, the mystery sounds kind of cool.
So what do you know about the guy who invented the Bitcoin?
That it's a big mystery, and I actually wrote a comic book about it. Remember when I wrote the Satoshi story?
You wrote a little story about Satoshi, you're right.
Yeah, and I said it was a big group of cats.
You think they're cats? Maybe they're cats, but they're very smart cats if they did that.
And you always say that cats are dumbheads.
Yeah, I don't like cats, but that's nothing to do with Bitcoin. But yes, we don't know who the person who invented Bitcoin is. His name is Satoshi Nakamoto. We don't know if it's a guy. We don't know if it's a boy. It's a girl.
And we don't know how many people it is. It can actually be a group.
Exactly. What do you like about Bitcoin? Like, what are some of the questions you've always wondered about Bitcoin?
What is the smallest amount of Bitcoin?
Yeah, well, when you look at a Bitcoin, you can go subdivide it up to 8 decimals. So it can be very small. You know how we call the smallest portion of a Bitcoin?
How?
The one after 8 zeros? A Satoshi. It's named after Satoshi Nakamoto.
No, actually, I think it's the other way around.
What do you mean?
The Satoshi Nakamoto was named after the Satoshi Bitcoin.
Yeah, well, Satoshi Nakamoto invented Bitcoin, and then there's 8 decimals, and the last decimal, it's like a cent. You know when you have a dollar, and 100 cents make a dollar? But instead of a dollar, each cent is called a Satoshi. But in this case, instead of having 100 in $1, here you have like 8 zeros basically.
Oh, like when you tried to change the 100 dirham smoking fine to 100 Lebanese pounds, that doesn't even make a USA cent.
Of course, I know every time I smoke a cigar, I have to pay you. It used to be 100 Armenian dirham, which became 100 dirham, and I try to pay you 100 Lebanese pounds. And I realize that the foreign exchange is not the same. You're very smart. I know.
Actually, you already told me.
Okay. So what else do you want to learn about cryptocurrencies?
What's a recovery seed?
Oh wow, a recovery seed is whenever you actually, let's say you're opening a certain crypto wallet, there's a string of letters and numbers that actually, if you have those, you can access your wallet again. Imagine if you have a safe and you put a combination in that safe, but there's a magic word that that only you know. And if you use that magic word, it's going to open up.
But if you forget it...
If you forget it, it's that's we call that losing your private keys. Then you lost it. You lost your recovery seed. And that's a problem. Happens quite a lot.
Isn't the recovery seed for this exact same thing? For example, if you forget your... What if you have a backup recovery seed?
And that's what it has. The recovery seed is actually something you use as a backup in case you forget how to access your crypto wallets. Good question.
And I have a question.
Tell me.
When it says if Henri could choose his recovery seed words, why didn't you write cats?
Well, technically it could be cats, but it's a random set of words and numbers and letters, so it's unlikely it'll be the word cats. And I hate cats, so what else do we learn about cryptocurrency?
That makes a whole lot of sense.
What's that? Here we go, you see? That's what keys. So what else do you want to learn about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies?
Can you explain to me more about the word immutable?
Immutable, wow, very good. So immutable is when something cannot be erased. Imagine when you're at school and you're writing a text and then you cannot erase it. That's what something becomes immutable. And the reason we use it in Bitcoin and crypto, because the Bitcoin blockchain is immutable. When something goes on the blockchain, you cannot change it. It's like writing a word on a piece of paper, but then you cannot erase it.
And everybody, I know exactly where my father got that idea. From this part of the book.
Well, yeah, but I wrote the book. So like that's the idea came from us and then we put it in the book.
Hold on. The real question is, were you the writer, the publisher, or the illustrator?
My co-author Michael and I were the writers, and we had a different person who was the illustrator, and of course somebody else was the publisher. What do you find interesting about Bitcoin?
What's a validator?
So a validator is somebody that will look at the transactions that take place and say these transactions are valid. It's a bit like your teacher at school. When you guys do a piece of homework, she will come and say, okay, this homework is good. And she will like put a grade on it. That's what validators do. They look at a certain type of transaction and say, it's good.
Actually, you said she, and my current teacher is a boy.
Well, you're right. Good point. Do your friends talk about Bitcoin at school?
No.
No. You have better things to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Minecraft.
Like Minecraft.
But you do not get what it's actually pretty simple.
I mean, you
already watched the beginner's survival tutorial.
Yeah, but I don't understand. I prefer Bitcoin to Minecraft. You prefer Minecraft to Bitcoin?
Actually, I like them both equally.
Oh, wow.
I'm just saying, the kids in my class, they barely know anything about Bitcoin, I suppose.
Do you have one last question?
Yeah.
What is your last question?
I mean, I don't believe how far we have gone from using stuff that and technology that has just been invented. Okay, with that, and it all started from trading cacao beans with salt.
Exactly. Back in the day, we used to use cacao beans, salt. Do you know where the word salary comes from? The Latin word salt. Salt. So back in the day, we used to use cacao beans, we used to use salt, we used to use seashells, and now we use technology and money. So what actually we define as money has changed over the years. You know, before back in the day was salt, and now maybe could be Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies could be seen as money.
And also, if I lived back then, I'd trade a dog for lots and lots of cats since they seem so valuable.
Well, if you believe that cats are more valuable than dogs, yes, you can do that. We call it barter. Hope you enjoyed my last kid's book. You want to do more of these episodes?
Yeah, let's do it. And everybody, if you've already purchased this, then you might see over here that coming soon there is a new book of Henri and Hodler. So if anybody is interested,
they will.
But you can buy it in these shops.
So we can buy it also online, Amazon, but also many bookstores around.
I don't know which shops.
Well, thank you guys. See you soon for another episode of Explain It to a 9-year-old.
Are your children prepared for the future of money? Order Decoding Crypto with Henri and Hodler, the #1 new release kids book on Amazon.